21. Black R&B stars who tragically died of AIDS. Did you know that some of the most iconic Black R&B stars, fashion legends, and cultural pioneers were tragically taken by the AIDS epidemic? From trailblazing musicians to designers who shaped entire generations, their untold stories still echo today. But what if their talents had been recognized earlier, or if the world had acted sooner? In this video, we're diving deep into the lives of these legends and the devastating impact of AIDS on their careers. What are your thoughts on the silence that surrounded these stories? Join the conversation by commenting below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Legends of Black Excellence. Sylvester James Jr. Sylvester James Jr., better known simply as Sylvester, was a groundbreaking figure in the world of disco and R&B. Born on September 6, 1947 in Los Angeles, California, Sylvester quickly emerged as a force of nature in the music industry. His powerful falsetto and dramatic stage presence made him one of the most prominent queer icons of the 1970s and 1980s. His music resonated deeply within the LGBTQ+ community, with his 1978 hit, "You Make Me Feel Mighty Real," becoming an anthem of self-expression and liberation. Sylvester's rise to fame was fueled by his unique blend of disco funk and soul, creating a style that transcended genre boundaries. As a member of the group Sylvester and the Hot Band, he created a series of dance hits that were as infectious as they were empowering. His flamboyant style and unapologetic embrace of his sexuality were groundbreaking at a time when the world was less accepting of LGBTQ+ individuals. However, beneath the glitter and glamour of his career, Sylvester's personal life was marked by turmoil and addiction. Throughout the 1980s, he became entrenched in a lifestyle that involved heavy drug use, wild parties, and a relentless pursuit of pleasure. Unfortunately, this behavior led to his contracting HIV, which silently began to deteriorate his health. By 1985, Sylvester's once vibrant body had begun to show signs of the virus, with his weight dropping dramatically, and he struggled to maintain his health. In March 1987, while performing on stage, Sylvester collapsed from the effects of AIDS. By August 1988, he was paralyzed, and his physical decline became evident. Despite his condition, he continued to fight, determined to live long enough to see one last Christmas. On December 16, 1988, Sylvester passed away at the age of 41 in his home in San Francisco, surrounded by close friends, including Joanne, who had been by his side through his final days. Sylvester's death was marked by a lack of public acknowledgement at the time, as the stigma of AIDS, especially among gay men, kept many from publicly mourning his loss. In a final act of defiance against the disease's stigmatization, Sylvester left his entire music catalog's royalties to AIDS prevention programs, specifically those focused on the Black community. His death not only exposed the devastating impact of AIDS on the LGBTQ+ community, but also highlighted the systemic neglect of those affected by the epidemic. Sylvester's legacy, however, lives on. His music continues to inspire, and his bravery in life and death ensures he will never be forgotten. Sylvester was more than just a disco star. He was a symbol of resilience, an advocate for the marginalized, and a voice for those silenced by fear. Bobby DeBarge. Bobby DeBarge, born on March 5, 1956, in Detroit, Michigan, was the lead singer of the popular R&B group Switch. Known for his angelic falsetto and boyish charm, Bobby helped craft some of the group's biggest hits, including "There'll Never Be" and "I Call Your Name." His smooth voice and captivating stage presence made him one of the brightest stars in the funk and R&B scenes during the late 1970s and early 1980s. As the eldest sibling in the DeBarge family, Bobby played a key role in the musical legacy of his family, which also included his brothers and sisters who went on to form the group DeBarge. Bobby was not only known for his musical talent, but also for his striking good looks, earning him widespread adoration from fans across the globe. However, behind the success and glamour, Bobby struggled with a dark side. He was deeply involved in drug addiction, particularly heroin, which took a severe toll on both his personal life and career. Bobby's drug addiction worsened as his fame grew, and by the early 1980s, he was spending up to $3,000 a week on drugs. His personal and professional life began to unravel. In 1988, at the height of his career, Bobby was arrested for heroin possession and sentenced to prison. It was there, while serving his time, that he was diagnosed with HIV, though he never publicly acknowledged it at the time. Upon his release from prison in 1993, Bobby's health rapidly declined. He was hospitalized in 1994 with severe hepatitis, and by 1995, his immune system had been ravaged by AIDS. On August 16, 1995, Bobby DeBarge passed away at the age of 39 alone in a hospital room weighing just 99 pounds. His death, caused by AIDS complications, came as a silent tragedy. He was a once vibrant star whose life and career were cut short by addiction and illness. Bobby DeBarge's story is a painful reminder of the hidden battles faced by many in the music industry, and his legacy is often overshadowed by the tragedy of his early death. Kenny Green. Kenny Green, born on July 12, 1972, was an R&B singer and songwriter best known for his work as the lead singer of the group Intro. The group, formed in the early 1990s, gained success with their debut album, which featured hits like Funny How Time Flies and Come Inside. With his smooth voice and undeniable charisma, Kenny Green quickly became a standout figure in the R&B scene, captivating listeners with his soulful falsetto and heartfelt performances. Kenny Green's rise to fame was marked by his impressive vocal range and his ability to convey raw emotion through his music. His voice was often compared to other legendary R&B singers of the time, making him one of the promising stars in the industry. However, despite his professional success, Kenny's personal life was clouded by a growing struggle with HIV, though he kept his diagnosis a secret from the public for many years. By the late 1990s, Kenny Green's health began to deteriorate rapidly. He vanished from the public eye, and rumors circulated about his declining health. In 1999, it was revealed that Kenny had been living with HIV, and by 2000, he had been diagnosed with full-blown AIDS. His health continued to decline, and he was frequently hospitalized due to infections related to his compromised immune system. Despite the pain and suffering, Kenny continued to create music, but his career was cut short by his worsening condition. On October 1, 2001, Kenny Green passed away at the age of 29 alone in a hospital, his death marked by the devastating toll AIDS had taken on his body. He died weighing just 95 pounds with his CD4 count having dropped to a dangerously low level. Kenny's death was a tragic loss for the R&B community, and his untimely passing was a reminder of the silent battle many artists faced during the AIDS crisis. Though his time in the spotlight was brief, Kenny Green's contributions to the genre continue to resonate with fans, and his legacy lives on through his soulful music. Ronnie Dyson. Ronnie Dyson was a celebrated R&B singer and actor born on June 5, 1950 in Washington, D.C. He is best known for his smooth tenor voice and his breakout role in the musical Hair, which helped him rise to fame in the early 1970s. Dyson's success continued with several hit songs, including his chart-topping ballad, Why Can't I Touch You, which became one of his most enduring hits. His voice was distinctive, full of emotion and soul, making him a beloved figure in the world of R&B and soul music. However, Ronnie's rise to stardom was marked by personal struggles that were hidden behind the scenes. By the early 1980s, the spotlight that had once shone so brightly on him began to fade. Despite his success, his career was affected by a growing battle with substance abuse. Heroin became a major part of his life, and by 1983, he had largely disappeared from the public eye. Seeking to escape from the pressures of fame, Dyson relocated to Philadelphia, but his troubles only deepened. In 1985, after struggling with addiction for years, Ronnie was diagnosed with HIV. His health began to deteriorate rapidly, but he continued to keep the diagnosis private, not wanting to reveal the true cause of his decline. By 1990, Ronnie's condition had worsened significantly. His weight plummeted, and he was often hospitalized due to complications from AIDS. On November 10, 1990, at just 40 years old, Ronnie Dyson passed away in Philadelphia from AIDS-related complications. His death went largely unnoticed by the media, a sad reflection of the stigma surrounding AIDS at the time. Despite his death being relatively quiet, Ronnie Dyson's legacy lives on through his music, particularly his hauntingly beautiful voice, and his contribution to soul and R&B music during the 1970s. Jermaine Stewart. Jermaine Stewart, born on September 16, 1953 in Indianapolis. Indiana was an R&B singer and a pop culture icon of the 1980s. He is best known for his 1986 hit single We Don't Have to Take Our Clothes Off, a smooth and seductive anthem that made him a household name. Jermaine's blend of R&B, pop, and soul earned him widespread attention and made him a favorite on the dance floor. His carefree and charismatic stage presence, combined with his sultry falsetto, made him a star during the peak of the 1980s R&B movement. While Jermaine was often celebrated for his charming, upbeat personality and hit songs, his personal life was far less glamorous. Behind the scenes, he became caught up in a world of nightlife and parties that often involved unprotected sex, drugs, and reckless behavior. As the years went by, his health began to deteriorate, though he kept it a secret from both the public and his fans. He was diagnosed with HIV in the late 1980s, but like many others during that time, he feared the stigma and avoided speaking publicly about his condition. By the early 1990s, Jermaine's health had taken a severe hit. His once vibrant and energetic persona was replaced by a man who was visibly frail and weakened. His weight plummeted, and his skin took on a sickly hue. Despite his worsening condition, Jermaine continued to perform, canceling shows only when his health became too severe to ignore. In 1993, it was confirmed that he had developed full-blown AIDS. Jermaine Stewart died on March 17, 1997, from complications related to AIDS at the age of 43. His final years were marked by isolation, with his fame fading and his once thriving career grinding to a halt. In his final days, he lived in a rundown apartment in Chicago, far removed from the glamorous world he had once known. Jermaine's death, like that of many others from that era, went largely unacknowledged by the mainstream media. However, his music, particularly We Don't Have to Take Our Clothes Off, remains an iconic part of the 1980s soundtrack. His story, though overshadowed by stigma, serves as a reminder of the silent battle many LGBTQ+ artists fought during the AIDS crisis and how the disease ravaged the lives of so many, especially in the Black and LGBTQ+ communities. Roderick Pugh Clark. Roderick Pugh Clark, born on August 5, 1970, was a promising R&B artist with a soulful voice and smooth delivery. Best known for his hits like The Kissing Game and I Like the Way, Roderick was one of the rising stars of the early 90s, capturing the hearts of fans with his sultry style and romantic ballads. He was part of the R&B group US3, which was known for its smooth blend of contemporary R&B with a classic soul sound. His smooth tenor and passionate performances made him a beloved figure in the genre. However, Roderick's life took a tragic turn after a severe car accident in 1992. The accident left him with severe injuries requiring emergency surgery. During the procedure, he unknowingly received a blood transfusion that was tainted with HIV. At the time, the screening methods for blood were not as sophisticated as they are today, and Roderick was unaware that the blood transfusion had exposed him to the virus. After the accident, Roderick continued to perform and live his life as though nothing had changed, not suspecting that HIV had silently entered his body. By the mid-1990s, Roderick began to notice troubling symptoms. He started to lose weight and experience unusual fatigue, which led to numerous medical tests. By 1996, he was diagnosed with HIV, and his health began to decline rapidly. His body became weak, and his immune system, already compromised from the virus, could no longer withstand the infections that ravaged his body. Roderick was forced to stop performing as his physical condition deteriorated, and by 2002, his struggle had ended. Roderick Pugh Clark passed away at the young age of 31 on April 14, 2002 from AIDS-related complications. His death was another tragic reminder of how the AIDS epidemic silently claimed the lives of many talented individuals in the music industry, particularly those who were not given the space to speak openly about their struggles due to stigma. Orish Ginstead. Orish Ginstead, born on January 2, 1979, was a rising star in the late 1990s, best known for her powerful vocals and her role in the iconic R&B group 702. The group, which also featured fellow members Mila Williams and Irish Grinstead, gained fame with their hits like Where My Girl's At and I Still Love You. Orish was a standout in the group, known for her sultry voice and commanding stage presence. With her beauty, talent, and charisma, she quickly became a favorite among fans of 90s R&B music. However, Orish's career took a tragic turn when in the early 2000s, she was involved in a relationship with an older, wealthy Las Vegas businessman. Orish, still a young woman at the time, fell deeply in love with him, unaware of the dangerous secret he was hiding. The man was HIV positive, and over the course of their relationship, Orish contracted the virus. At the time, HIV awareness was still not as widespread, and Orish's diagnosis came as a complete shock to her. By 2006, Orish's health began to decline. Her body started showing signs of severe illness, and she began experiencing debilitating symptoms. Despite trying to continue working, the virus took a heavy toll on her body. Orish's kidneys began to fail, and her health worsened to the point where she was no longer able to perform. She spent the last years of her life in and out of the hospital battling the effects of AIDS and struggling to get access to proper care. Sadly, in the early hours of April 20, 2008, Orish passed away in a Las Vegas hospital at the age of 29. Orish's death was a tragic loss for the R&B world, as she was still so young and had so much potential. She had been on the rise as both a member of 702 and as a solo artist, with the promise of a long career ahead of her. However, AIDS stole that future from her, and she passed away at the height of her personal and professional life without ever getting the chance to see the fruits of her hard work and success. Her passing also highlights the dangers of unprotected sex and the importance of HIV awareness, especially for young women who may not be aware of the risks involved in such relationships. Willie Beaver Hale. Beaver Hale was a talented and influential soul guitarist known for his contributions to the iconic sounds of Curtis Mayfield, Millie Jackson, and Betty Wright. Born on December 12, 1953 in Detroit, Michigan, Hale was a gifted musician whose soulful guitar riffs became an essential part of the rhythm and blues genre. His distinctive playing style, marked by smooth, intricate lines and a deep understanding of soul and funk, earned him a respected place among some of the greatest musicians of his era. As a member of the renowned musical collective Willie Beaver Hale, played on numerous hit records, contributing to the shaping of the sound that defined an entire generation of soul music. His guitar playing was a seamless fusion of funk and soul, and he helped create a unique sound that became synonymous with classic R&B. However, despite his success, Hale's personal life took a tragic turn during the height of his career. In the 1980s, he became deeply entrenched in a lifestyle filled with heavy drug use, which would ultimately prove to be his undoing. As Hale spiraled further into addiction, he became more isolated from his peers, choosing to spend time in shadowy corners of Los Angeles, where the drugs and his own personal demons took over. In 1986, at the age of 32, he contracted HIV, though he kept his diagnosis a secret. He continued to perform, hiding his suffering behind his music. His health began to deteriorate quickly, with dramatic weight loss and physical signs of AIDS taking their toll. By the time Hale's condition became visible to those around him, it was already too late. He was hospitalized in 1987, where he passed away from AIDS-related complications. He was just 33 years old. Despite the success he achieved in his career, Willie Beaver Hale's passing was relatively quiet, as the stigma surrounding AIDS kept his death from receiving the attention it deserved. His legacy, however, lives on through the music he helped create and the mark he left on the soul and funk genres. Hale's story serves as a poignant reminder of the ravaging effect AIDS had on many artists, often in silence and without public recognition. Wayne Cooper. Wayne Cooper was a gifted R&B artist and funk musician, known for his distinctive falsetto and electrifying stage presence. Born in 1957 in the United States, Wayne Cooper became a prominent figure in the music scene during the 1980s. He was best known for his work with Cameo, a funk and R&B band that made waves in the late 70s and 80s, with hits like Word Up and Candy. Wayne's smooth yet powerful voice helped to shape the sound of the band, and he was known for adding his own touch of soul to each performance, making him an integral part of the group's success. However, Wayne's career was overshadowed by his struggles with substance abuse. Throughout the 1980s, his life outside of music became turbulent as he was drawn into a world of drugs, alcohol, and reckless behavior. These habits severely impacted his personal life and health. It was during this period that HIV silently made its way into his life, though he was unaware at the time. By the early 1980s, Wayne's physical health began to deteriorate rapidly. His once energetic performances were replaced by a weakened, sickly version of the man who had once commanded the stage. By mid-1983, Wayne's health had worsened significantly, and the telltale signs of AIDS began to appear. He lost weight rapidly, became feverish, and suffered from painful sores. However, he continued to perform, pushing through his deteriorating health, afraid of revealing the truth. As the disease took hold of him, he was forced to cancel performances and eventually take a step back from public life. On October 15, 1984, Wayne Cooper passed away at the age of 27 in Atlanta, Georgia, from AIDS-related complications. His death went largely unnoticed by the media, as AIDS was still stigmatized and misunderstood at the time. Wayne Cooper's story serves as a tragic reminder of the impact of addiction and HIV on the lives of talented artists and how many stories went untold during the height of the AIDS crisis. David Cole. David Cole, born in 1962, was the musical genius behind C+C Music Factory, an influential dance and house music group that rose to prominence in the early 1990s. As a producer, composer, and keyboardist, David was responsible for some of the group's biggest hits, including Gonna Make You Sweat Everybody Dance Now, a song that became an anthem of the early 90s. His innovative production style helped shape the sound of the decade, and he was credited with pushing boundaries in both the house music scene and mainstream pop. Despite his professional success, David's personal life was marked by turmoil. He had a difficult relationship with fame, struggling to cope with the pressures that came with being at the forefront of the music industry. In the late 1980s, David began to live a fast-paced, hedonistic lifestyle filled with partying and fleeting relationships. It was during this period of indulgence that he was unknowingly exposed to HIV, a virus that was beginning to silently devastate the music community, particularly within the LGBTQ+ and urban scenes. By the early 1990s, David began to show the signs of a severe illness. His energy diminished, and he became noticeably thinner. His health issues were kept private for many years, but by 1994 it was clear that something was wrong. David was diagnosed with HIV, but despite his condition, he continued to work producing music and touring with C+C Music Factory. However, as the disease took its toll on his body, he became unable to continue his normal activities. In January 1995, David Cole passed away at the age of 32, succumbing to complications from AIDS. His death was a shocking loss for the music community, and it served as a painful reminder of the toll AIDS took on artists, especially those who, like David, had no choice but to keep their battle hidden from the public. David's passing was especially devastating because he had been such a key player in shaping the sound of an era. The music he produced with C+C Music Factory remains iconic, but his untimely death highlighted the ongoing AIDS crisis in the music industry, where many artists suffered in silence, their stories left largely untold. David Cole's legacy continues to resonate through his groundbreaking music, which still pumps through dance floors around the world, reminding fans of the immense talent that was tragically lost too soon. Eric Easy Wright. Eric Eazy-E Wright, known as Eazy-E, was a pivotal figure in the evolution of West Coast hip-hop and one of the founding members of the legendary group NWA. Born on September 7, 1963 in Compton, California, Eazy-E became an iconic figure in the rap world. His raw, unapologetic style of storytelling and gritty lyrics helped define the sound of early gangsta rap, making NWA's albums like Straight Outta Compton monumental in the genre's development. Eazy-E's voice became synonymous with the West Coast hip-hop scene, and he was often regarded as the godfather of gangsta rap. Despite his success, Eazy-E's life was complicated by a number of personal issues, including involvement in illegal activities during his youth. He turned to the rap game as a way to escape his environment, founding the label Ruthless Records in 1986 and launching his own successful solo career. Throughout his career, Eazy-E was known for his sharp business acumen, and he played an instrumental role in shaping the careers of other hip-hop legends like Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, and Snoop Dogg. However, Eazy-E's life would take a tragic turn in 1995. In February of that year, he began experiencing severe flu-like symptoms which quickly escalated to breathing difficulties and weight loss. Initially misdiagnosed, his condition worsened rapidly, and in March 1995, he was diagnosed with HIV. Just a month later, on March 26, 1995, Eazy-E died from complications related to AIDS at the age of 31. His death was a shocking wake-up call to the hip-hop community, which had largely been unaware of the widespread impact of HIV/AIDS on artists in their circles. Before his passing, Eazy-E became one of the first major figures in the hip-hop industry to publicly acknowledge his HIV diagnosis, which forced the music world to confront the reality of the epidemic. His death, though swift, had a significant impact on the perception of AIDS within the African American community and the larger music industry. Eazy-E's legacy lives on not only through his music, but through his role in bringing social and political issues into the public consciousness via his platform. His passing remains one of the most tragic in hip-hop history, a stark reminder of how the HIV epidemic claimed the lives of so many artists who had so much more to give. Christopher Lee Rios. Christopher Lee Rios, better known as Big Pun, was a pioneering figure in East Coast hip-hop and one of the most influential Latino rappers of all time. Born on November 10, 1971, in the Bronx, New York, Big Pun's rapid rise in the 1990s was marked by his raw lyricism and unmatched flow. His debut album, Capital Punishment, was released in 1998 and became a groundbreaking success, making him the first Latino rapper to achieve platinum status. His fast-paced, intricate rapping style and ability to seamlessly mix humor, braggadocio, and social commentary set him apart from his peers. Big Pun's success wasn't just limited to his rap skills. He became a prominent figure in the Latin hip-hop community, helping to pave the way for future generations of Latino rappers. He worked closely with Fat Joe, another prominent rapper, and together they became key figures in the Terror Squad collective. His massive talent and larger-than-life personality made him a beloved figure in the hip-hop world. However, Big Pun's health was a significant challenge throughout his career. He struggled with obesity, which put immense strain on his body and contributed to his declining health. Despite his success, Pun faced personal battles with addiction and emotional issues, and his weight continued to rise during his peak years in the spotlight. At his heaviest, he weighed over 440 pounds, a condition that eventually led to severe health problems. By the late 1990s, Big Pun began to experience symptoms of heart failure and other related complications due to his weight and lifestyle. On February 7, 2000, at the age of 28, Big Pun tragically passed away from a heart attack caused by his obesity-related health issues, which were exacerbated by his struggles with substance abuse and poor health choices. His death shocked the hip-hop community as he was still on the rise and had so much potential ahead of him. At the time of his death, Pun was actively working on new music, and his career had barely scratched the surface of what it could have been. Big Pun's legacy remains intact through his music and the impact he had on the hip-hop world, particularly for Latinos in the genre. He was a trailblazer in every sense, and his death at such a young age highlighted the importance of addressing health issues in the music industry. Big Pun's story is a reminder of how deeply intertwined lifestyle choices, addiction, and health can be in an artist's life, and how the epidemic of lifestyle-related illnesses coupled with personal struggles has taken too many artists from us far too soon. His influence continues to be felt, as his music still resonates with fans around the world. Bernard Edwards Jr. Bernard Edwards Jr. Known simply as Bernard Edwards, was a legendary bassist producer and one of the founding members of the influential band Chic. Born on October 31, 1952 in Greenville, North Carolina, Bernard Edwards was an essential figure in the evolution of disco and funk music. His innovative bass lines and musical contributions helped shape the sound of the late 70s and early 80s, earning him a place among the most influential bass players of his era. As the bassist and primary producer for Chic, Edwards was instrumental in crafting some of the most iconic hits of the disco era, including La Freak Good Times and Everybody Dance. His bass lines were funky tight and smooth, often regarded as the backbone of the band's sound. The band's success catapulted Edwards to international fame, and his distinctive style influenced countless musicians in various genres, from R&B to pop to rock. But despite his professional triumphs, Bernard Edwards' life took a tragic turn in the mid-1990s. In the early part of the decade, he was still actively performing and producing music, working on various projects and collaborating with other artists. Unfortunately, Bernard was living a lifestyle marked by excessive partying and drug use, which began to take a toll on his health. As the AIDS epidemic grew during the 1980s and 1990s, many artists, including those in the music industry, were silently affected by the virus. Bernard Edwards was diagnosed with HIV, and his health began to deteriorate rapidly. By 1996, Edwards was experiencing the full effects of AIDS, yet he continued to work even while struggling with his weakening health. His last performance with Chic took place in Japan, but by then, his condition was worsening and he could barely keep up with his musical responsibilities. On April 18, 1996, Bernard Edwards tragically passed away from complications of pneumonia, which was exacerbated by his immune system's collapse due to AIDS. He died at the age of 43 in a hotel room in Tokyo, Japan. His death was sudden and devastating as his music had continued to influence generations of artists. Bernard Edwards' passing was largely overshadowed by the stigma surrounding AIDS, and his contributions to the music world were not immediately acknowledged in the way they should have been. Yet, his work remains timeless, a testament to his extraordinary talent and his enduring impact on the music industry. Fela Kuti. Fela Kuti, born on October 15, 1938, in Abeokuta, Nigeria, was a revolutionary musician activist and the creator of Afrobeat, a genre that combined traditional Nigerian music with jazz funk and highlife. Fela's political and social activism were as influential as his music, and his rise to fame during the 1970s and 1980s was marked by his outspoken criticism of the Nigerian government, corruption, and social injustice. His bold stance and willingness to speak out against the oppressive political system made him a symbol of resistance and defiance, especially in the African diaspora. Fela Kuti's music, with its complex rhythms and socially conscious lyrics, became the voice of the oppressed. His band, Africa 70, was known for their energetic performances and unique fusion of jazz horns, funk rhythms, and African percussion. Songs like Zombie and Expensive Shit were not just musical compositions, they were political statements critiquing both the Nigerian government and the colonial legacy in Africa. His activism was a natural extension of his music, and he often used his platform to address issues such as poverty, police brutality, and the struggle for independence. However, Fela's life took a tragic turn in the 1980s when he unknowingly contracted HIV. At the time, HIV/AIDS awareness was low in Africa, and Fela, like many others, did not understand the gravity of the situation. Despite the growing concern around the epidemic, Fela continued his public lifestyle, which included multiple partners and a high-risk lifestyle, including constant touring and partying. His lack of awareness about the virus contributed to the silent spread of the disease in his community. By the early 1990s, Fela's health began to decline. He was often seen looking frail and suffering from various ailments, but his powerful stage presence never faltered. He continued to perform and tour, not yet acknowledging the full extent of his health issues. However, in the early 1990s, it became clear that Fela had developed AIDS. Despite his physical decline, he kept performing until the disease took its final toll. On August 2, 1997, Fela Kuti passed away at the age of 58 from complications related to AIDS, though his death was attributed to kidney failure at the time. His death came after years of battling both the virus and the Nigerian government's oppressive tactics against him. Fela's passing marked the loss of one of Africa's greatest musical icons and a vocal advocate for human rights. Though his fight with AIDS was private, his death underscored the widespread impact of the epidemic on artists, particularly those who lived fast and free lifestyles. Fela's music and legacy continue to inspire new generations, and his role as a voice for the voiceless and a cultural revolutionary remains significant in the global music scene. Melvin Lindsay. Melvin Lindsay was a highly influential radio personality and the creator of the Quiet Storm format, a style of radio programming that revolutionized late-night R&B and soul music. Born on July 2, 1955 in Washington, D.C., Lindsay's distinctive smooth voice became synonymous with soul and rhythm and blues music for millions of listeners, particularly in the 1970s and 1980s. He was responsible for pioneering the Quiet Storm genre on the airwaves, a program that featured mellow, sensual R&B tracks and was designed to cater to a more relaxed, intimate listening experience in the evenings. The success of the format helped launch the careers of several R&B artists, and it became a mainstay on urban radio stations across the country. Lindsay's deep love for R&B music and his natural storytelling ability made him a trusted figure in the music community. He began his career as a DJ and soon became a respected figure on Washington, D.C.'s airwaves. His show, The Quiet Storm, which first aired in 1976, created a unique space where R&B and soul music could be experienced in a calm, laid-back atmosphere. It was more than just music. It was a space for romance, self-reflection, and connection. Unfortunately, Melvin Lindsay's life was tragically cut short. In the early 1990s, Lindsay was diagnosed with HIV, though his condition remained private for a long time. Despite his personal health struggles, Lindsay continued to work, but by 1992, his health had deteriorated significantly. He spent the last years of his life battling AIDS-related complications, and despite being a well-known and respected figure in the music industry, he passed away on March 26, 1992, at the age of 36. Lindsay's death was a quiet one, with few public tributes given to a man whose voice had touched millions. Nevertheless, his contributions to the R&B genre through his pioneering radio format and his deep influence on the music industry continue to be remembered and celebrated. Gil Scott-Heron. Gil Scott-Heron, born on April 1, 1949 in Chicago, Illinois, was a revolutionary figure in the world of music, poetry, and activism. Often referred to as the godfather of rap, Scott-Heron's unique style combined elements of jazz, soul, funk, and spoken word, making him a major influence on the development of modern hip-hop and socially conscious music. His 1970s recordings, particularly The Revolution Will Not Be Televised and Pieces of a Man, solidified his place in music history as an artist who used his platform to challenge political systems, address racial injustice, and speak out on social issues. Scott Heron's ability to blend politics with music made him a powerful voice in the Black community and beyond. His songs, rich with cultural critiques, tackled issues such as poverty, police brutality, and the ongoing fight for equality. Gil's raw poetic delivery and cutting-edge compositions set him apart from his peers and earned him respect as a lyrical genius. He was often seen as a spoken-word artist who blurred the lines between poetry and music, paving the way for generations of hip-hop artists who would later adopt similar themes in their own work. However, beneath the acclaim, Gil Scott-Heron's life was marked by personal struggles. He battled drug addiction for much of his career, which took a toll on both his personal and professional life. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, his health deteriorated as a result of his substance abuse, and by the mid-1990s, his struggles became more visible. In the early 2000s, Scott-Heron was diagnosed with HIV, but he continued to battle with addiction and other health issues. On May 27, 2011, Gil Scott-Heron passed away at the age of 62 from complications related to AIDS. His death was officially attributed to pneumonia, but those close to him knew the true cause was a combination of his struggle with HIV and years of battling addiction. Though Scott-Heron's decline in health had been evident, his passing marked the end of an era. His music, however, continues to resonate with new generations, and his influence on hip-hop, rap, and socially conscious music remains profound. In death, as in life, Scott-Heron's legacy lives on, not only in his music, but in the message of resistance and resilience he left behind. His profound impact on music, poetry, and culture will forever be remembered as a beacon of activism and artistry. Essex Hemphill. Essex Hemphill, born on April 19, 1957 in Chicago, Illinois, was a groundbreaking poet-activist and prominent figure in the Black queer arts movement. Known for his unapologetic and powerful writing, Hemphill used his words to explore themes of identity, sexuality, race, and the struggles of being Black and gay in a world that marginalized both communities. His work was raw, beautiful, and emotionally charged, offering a voice to those who had been silenced and an expression of defiance in the face of oppression. Hemphill's poetry was often featured in journals and anthologies, and he was a central figure in the 1980s and 1990s African-American and LGBTQ+ literary circles. His poetry collections, such as Ceremonies 1992, reflected his deep engagement with the issues of his time, particularly focusing on the intersection of Black identity and queerness. Hemphill's work was unique in its portrayal of the sensual and the political, capturing the lived experiences of Black gay men navigating their complex existence in a world defined by both racial and sexual prejudice. Beyond his poetry, Essex Hemphill was an advocate for HIV/AIDS awareness. He was actively involved in raising consciousness about the epidemic, particularly in the Black and LGBTQ+ communities, where the crisis was often ignored or stigmatized. Hemphill himself was diagnosed with HIV, and he continued to write and speak out about the disease, even as his own health began to decline. Essex. Hemphill died on November 4, 1995 at the age of 38, due to complications from AIDS. His death, like so many others in that era, was largely unacknowledged by mainstream media, despite the profound impact he had made on the cultural landscape. In his passing, Hemphill left behind a legacy of fierce honesty, courage, and the fight for visibility for Black queer voices. His words continue to inspire and serve as a powerful reminder of the intersectionality of race, sexuality, and activism. His work remains an essential part of the literary canon and the ongoing struggle for equality and representation. Frankie Knuckles. Frankie Knuckles, born on January 18, 1955 in the Bronx, New York, was one of the most influential figures in the history of house music and a key architect of the Chicago dance music scene. Known as the godfather of house music, Knuckles helped to pioneer a sound that would become globally recognized and beloved. His contributions to the genre cannot be overstated. He was instrumental in shaping the direction of electronic dance music with his innovative use of synthesizers, drum machines, and soulful melodies. Frankie Knuckles began his musical career in the 1970s as a DJ at the Warehouse Club in Chicago, a pivotal venue where he started experimenting with disco soul and electronic beats. It was here that he coined the term house music, a genre that combined the dance rhythms of disco with a futuristic electronic edge. His style was smooth, soulful, and uplifting, creating a sound that appealed to a diverse audience from disco lovers to the burgeoning underground club scene. In the years that followed, Knuckles' influence spread far beyond Chicago, and his remixes and productions became essential in the development of dance music worldwide. Hits like Your Love and Baby Wants to Ride became classics, cementing his place in the pantheon of music legends. However, despite his monumental success, Frankie Knuckles' life was marred by the HIV/AIDS epidemic that devastated the LGBTQ+ community, particularly in the 1980s and 1990s. Knuckles, who was openly gay, became one of the many artists in the dance music scene who were personally affected by the virus. Throughout his career, he used his platform to advocate for HIV awareness and to challenge the stigma surrounding the disease. His activism was rooted in his own experiences, and he was known for his generosity and commitment to supporting others living with HIV. In 2014, Frankie Knuckles was diagnosed with diabetes and had been battling complications related to the disease for some time. His health deteriorated rapidly, and on March 31, 2014, he passed away at the age of 59 from complications related to diabetes and AIDS. His death was a profound loss to the music world, as he had been a beloved figure in the global dance community. Frankie Knuckles' legacy as a pioneer of house music, his contributions to the LGBTQ+ rights movement, and his unyielding spirit live on in his music, which continues to inspire DJs, producers, and dancers around the world. His influence on electronic dance music is immeasurable, and he will always be remembered as one of the genre's founding fathers. Marlon Riggs. Marlon Riggs, born on February 3, 1957 in Fort Worth, Texas, was an acclaimed filmmaker, poet, and activist who used his work to challenge the intersections of race, sexuality, and identity. He is best known for his unapologetic and provocative documentaries that highlighted the experiences of Black queer individuals, offering a powerful voice to those often marginalized in both the Black and LGBTQ+ communities. Riggs was a key figure in both the Black arts movement and the LGBTQ+ rights movement, and his legacy as a pioneering filmmaker continues to influence generations of artists and activists. Riggs's most famous work, Tongues Untied, 1989, is a groundbreaking documentary that explores the experiences of Black gay men confronting issues such as racism, homophobia, and the complexities of Black masculinity. The film is often credited with creating a space for Black queer voices in the broader discourse surrounding race and sexuality. Another seminal work, Black Ain't 1994, explored the diversity of Black identities and the impact of societal pressures on Black individuals, particularly around issues of gender, sexuality, and self-expression. Despite his success, Riggs's life was tragically cut short by the HIV/AIDS epidemic. Diagnosed with HIV in the late 1980s, Riggs continued to create powerful work despite his declining health. His ability to channel personal pain and societal injustice into his art only amplified the importance of his voice. Riggs was a tireless advocate for HIV awareness and openly discussed his battle with the virus in his films, challenging the stigma that often surrounded both AIDS and the Black gay community. Marlon Riggs passed away from AIDS-related complications on April 5, 1994, at the age of 37. His death, while a huge loss to the artistic and activist communities, highlighted the intersection of Black identity and HIV/AIDS in a way that few had done before. His works remain a significant part of the cultural conversation, inspiring continued advocacy for both Black and LGBTQ+ rights. Riggs's courageous exploration of personal and collective identity has left an indelible mark on both the film industry and social justice movements. Willie Ninja. Willie Ninja, born on April 12, 1961 in the United States, was one of the most influential figures in the underground ballroom scene and is widely regarded as the father of voguing. His name became synonymous with voguing, a highly stylized and expressive form of dance that emerged in Harlem during the 1980s, largely within the LGBTQ+ community, particularly among Black and Latino individuals. Voguing, with its sharp, angular movements and poses inspired by fashion models, was a celebration of queer culture, self-expression, and resistance, and Willie Ninja was one of its most celebrated pioneers. Willie's journey into the world of ballroom began at a young age, and by his late teens, he had become a dominant figure in the ballroom scene. Known for his grace, strength, and charisma, Willie Ninja became a sought-after name in various ballroom competitions, where he excelled in the Vogue category. His mastery of the dance style and his larger-than-life presence helped to popularize voguing beyond the underground scene, eventually bringing it to mainstream audiences. Willie's influence was further cemented when he appeared in the 1990 documentary Paris is Burning, which chronicled the lives of participants in the New York City ballroom scene. The film captured his infectious personality and his iconic voguing, introducing his talent to a global audience. Throughout his life, Willie Ninja became a cultural icon, particularly in the LGBTQ+ community, and was recognized for his contribution to the arts, dance, and fashion. However, like many in the ballroom community, Willie's life was affected by the AIDS epidemic. Despite his visibility in the scene and his public role as a trailblazer, he was privately battling HIV, which he contracted during the early days of the epidemic. In the years before his passing, Willie Ninja's health began to decline. Despite the mounting pressure from the disease, he continued to dance, perform, and teach others in the ballroom scene, always maintaining his pride in his art form. Unfortunately, his condition worsened, and on September 2, 2006, Willie Ninja passed away at the age of 45 due to complications from AIDS. His death was a significant loss for the dance community and the world at large. Willie Ninja's contributions to voguing and the visibility of LGBTQ+ culture in mainstream media remain vital, and his influence is still felt in today's dance scene. Willie Smith. Willie Smith, born on April 6, 1948 in New York City, was an influential fashion designer who made a profound impact on the fashion industry in the 1980s. His work was highly regarded for its innovative approach to street fashion, blending elements of high fashion with the vibrant energy of hip-hop and R&B culture. As the creator of Willie Wear, a fashion brand that became synonymous with cutting-edge style, Willie Smith was a trailblazer who defined the fashion of an entire generation. His designs were worn by many prominent figures in music, including R&B legends, and his pieces became a staple in the wardrobes of those who embraced the fusion of hip-hop and high fashion. Willie's rise to prominence came during a time when fashion was experiencing a shift, with urban culture beginning to influence mainstream trends. His distinctive clothing line became a symbol of the growing intersection between music, street culture, and fashion. Willie Smith's work represented a blend of bold, colorful designs that appealed to both the avant-garde and those in the music industry, giving rise to a new type of urban fashion that was both wearable and expressive. Unfortunately, in the midst of his success, Willie Smith's life took a tragic turn. In the mid-1980s, while still at the peak of his career, Smith contracted HIV. He became part of the devastating wave of artists, fashion designers, and musicians who were silently affected by the epidemic during this period. Despite the toll the disease took on his body, Smith continued to work in fashion and lived his life with an incredible amount of resilience. Unfortunately, his health began to decline as he battled AIDS in the early 1990s. Willie Smith's death came suddenly on April 17, 1987, when he was only 39 years old. At the time, the cause of his death was not widely acknowledged to be AIDS, as HIV, and AIDS were heavily stigmatized and largely misunderstood. Smith's death was not immediately recognized as a public loss to the fashion world, but over time his contributions to fashion and streetwear became more widely acknowledged, and his work has since been recognized as a cornerstone in the evolution of modern urban fashion. Despite the hardships and silence surrounding his illness, Willie Smith's legacy as a visionary designer who shaped the future of street fashion endures to this day, reminding us of his groundbreaking impact on both the fashion industry and popular culture. The impact of AIDS on the Black community, especially within the realms of music, fashion, and activism, is a stark reminder of the many brilliant lives lost too soon. From iconic figures like Sylvester and Big Pun, to pioneers in the fashion world like Willie Smith and dancers like Willie Ninja, their legacies continue to influence the world. But what can we learn from their stories? How do we ensure that their voices are never forgotten in the fight for better awareness and support? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell for more stories of resilience and excellence.